is not just reading the words off of a page. It's interpreting those words and making meaning from them. It is also more than perception of sound. It's the act of interpreting those sounds and making meaning from them. Ways to help you interpret and find meaning in words is the stages of the listening process. These stages include hearing, focusing on a message, comprehending and interpreting, analyzing and evaluating, responding, and remembering. Even though using these stages will help you be a better listener, there will still be some barriers to active listening, and you will need to overcome them. There are 3 types of barriers: environmental barriers, physiological barriers, and psychological barriers. Environmental barriers are external noises like traffic, a radio, or other conversations. Physiological barriers can be caused by a different rates at which we speak and think. Psychological barriers would be preconceived ideas, moods, assumptions, labels, stereotypes, past experiences, emotions, hopes, memories, and even to the degree of self-esteem. To be a good active listener, one must know the stages of the listening process and also know how to overcome barriers. But it is like any other skill. It must be practiced right to become perfected. Nonverbal communication is 75 to 90% of the information we gather from people in conversations. This is why knowing the channels of nonverbal communication is important to carrying on good conversations. A channel of nonverbal communication are physical appearance, facial expression, eye contact, body language, and phonemics. Using these channels properly will help you use nonverbal communication to your advantage. Paying attention to nonverbal communication will help you become a better listener because it helps you understand the person that you're communicating with. Reading body language or facial expressions are important elements to interpreting and analyzing in the listening process. One must also be careful when depicting body language because nonverbal communication is like drawing conclusions on how a person feels or how they are trying to communicate. This is why it's good to know the vocabulary of body language so you can help interpret a person's nonverbal communication. Some vocabulary of body language includes arms crossed on the chest will mean that the person is defensive, or tapping or drumming fingers will mean that they're impatient, or biting their nails will mean insecurity or nervousness. Picking up on these nonverbal behaviors will interpret body language and using nonverbal communication. Perception is the mental process of observing the outer physical world and processing information into patterns meaningful to the brain to fit the environment of our inner world. The elements of perception involve the interaction of the outer world with our inner world. The inner world is all about senses, expectations, desire, interests, emotions, perception, self-perception, tendencies, and attitude. The outer physical world of perception are perceptions that others have of us, and the nonverbal behaviors we observe in others, their gender roles, and their culture. The outer physical world of perception correlates with the nonverbal communication because of nonverbal behaviors. The perception of the person's nonverbal behavior helps you depict the body vocabulary of the person, which in turn helps you comprehend the nonverbal communication they are putting out. Our perception is established because of our combined experiences to build a belief system that defines each individual's map of reality, connects the feelings to behaviors, and links behaviors to their emotions. A person's beliefs can exist separately and independently from each other, but when a person's beliefs share an attribute to a relationship, a system exists. But when a system exists, there become errors of perception. These errors of perception include stereotyping, halo effect, and attribution. These are faulty perceptions of ourselves and otherwise can be avoided by practicing good interpersonal skills. Resolving conflict is imperative to maintaining positive communication. There's a misconception about conflict and how it is bad. Well, there is such a good thing as good conflict. It allows people to be open when communicating. Open communication causes people to explain what they really think about a situation. By having good conflict and open communication, a person can soon start to build a perception of the person they are communicating with. Conflict can also be bad. It can destroy a relationship or cause barriers in communication. The best way to deal with conflict is to be a good active listener. Making sure you're following the listening process can eliminate lots of problems when it comes to conflict and communication. Because just being a good active listener can eliminate those misconceptions that lead to conflict in communication. The nature of power and influence plays a pretty substantial role in interpersonal skills. Knowing who the influence and source of power is in the group will save a lot of conflict when communicating within the group. This influence and source of power is known as a leader. Their leadership should not be an end in itself, but a means to bring out the best in people, to inspire and motivate them to commit themselves, their skills, talents, to delivering the group or organization's vision. The source of leadership does influence the behavior and actions of others. A few influencing tactics include relating and connecting with people, building trust, motivating them, inspiring and empowering people, and also role modeling honesty and integrity. Responding with empathy is a great aspect of being a positive leader. Understanding empathy makes the role of a positive leader that much easier. When it comes to understanding empathy as a leader, you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes, because it allows you to fully experience and understand and support others. When communicating empathy, you need to apply empathetic response skills. Summarizing what the person said shows them that you are interested in what they are saying and that you are listening intently. Also, giving advice shows the person that you are listening and that you are willing to help. Culture is defined as the characteristics of a particular group of people, which is defined by everything from language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music, and art. Culture can also be defined by demographics, which are classifications of cultural patterns. Culture and communication often clash with each other. Something that is done in one culture may be considered rewarding. The same thing that's done in another culture could be considered insulting. This is why knowing and understanding empathy and how to apply empathetic response skills is very vital to cross-cultural communication. Empathy and cross-cultural competence is a knowledge or skill that enables individuals to adapt effectively in cross-cultural environments. This makes a great quality in positive leadership. Gender issues in communication, leadership, and interpersonal skills are not as big an issue as they were years ago. Today, both sexes are considered equal when it comes to communication, leadership, and interpersonal skills. Even though both sexes are considered to be equal, there are still some stereotypical careers when it comes to the sex of a person. A few of the careers would be a pastor, fireman, mailman, chief, actor, and policeman. But now the names of these careers are starting to be changed to non-sexist names like a mail carrier, firefighter, and a police officer. Fixing these gender issues, like the career names, help communication exceed far better than before. It is being empathetic to the opposite sex, helping to resolve conflict, and keeps cross-cultural miscommunication to a minimum, as well as helps determine the nature of power and influence, which is the leader. As you can see, these interpersonal skills are not separate skills needed to be learned. They're a bunch of skills that go hand in hand with one another to help make a person the best leader they can possibly be.